This is a review of a counterfeit Endura, Chinese fake Endura, versus two genuine Enduras. The counterfeit here is on the bottom, and then, excuse me, the one in the middle is a ZDP 189 real Endura, and the one on the top is a super blue real Endura. And just some of the, I'll just go into some of the quick things I've noticed that, so you could tell these apart, because they're getting difficult to tell apart. I've had two of these fake Enduras. They advertise them as being the green ZDP 189s, but when you get them, they're black. So I don't know, they're having trouble maybe doing the color. They claim they're green, but you get them, they're black. Which is strange. So I'll go over the boxes, I guess, first and what I got, and then I'll go over the knives. Packaging wise, I've gotten two of these fake Enduras, and one of them, the package came like this. The knife was wrapped up in silver, very thin foil, like a Hershey's box. And then this was, I've tried to put it together, but I can't really pull that off, and I don't have the patience to put it together, to be perfectly honest with you. But they send you these package inserts. They were flat, so they could get this thing in an envelope, and they had the top and the bottom flattened out. And they had this packaging. They had the foam in there, and you know, the top and the bottom. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on this thing, other than the fact that I do have another box here. This is another fake box. And let's see, these look like, yeah, they are identical. So these two fake boxes, even though the quality of the two Enduras that I had, the fake boxes, if you look at the gradients, colors, everything is, they're identical. So I think these were, same guys printed these up. For all practical purposes, identical. Yeah, close enough. So I'm going to take, I just pulled this first one out just to show you that they're sending a couple of knives I got. I got also a huge Trailmaster knife, Cold Steel Trailmaster clone from China, and it had the packaging, that huge 16-inch long, 17-inch long packaging. It was all flattened out too. So that's unusual, because usually they'll send you the stuff full size. But here's the boxes. You can't go by the boxes. Now the box for the real super blue, let me move this, turn this over, will be on the right here. You can't really go by the boxes, because there's a lot of variation in Spyderco boxes. So if you got 5 Spyderco boxes, even in the same series of knife, they would all have some variation in them. Sometimes they will mess up this gradient. Sometimes Spyderco will have a bad gold print of the spider, and it'll look like it's a ripoff, but it's not. So I would say that because of one simple thing, the genuine box is printed in China, and so is the fake. So it would not surprise me if they're printed on the same lines. A lot of people get into analyzing the weight of the fonts and stuff, and you know, the placement of the logos. I've had the super blue is the one on the right, now it's on the bottom, so this is genuine one on the bottom. They get into the color analysis, and I'm going to tell you that I've seen 5 genuine boxes next to each other, and there will be variations in the font weight, variations in one Spyderco logo will be high, one will be low, and one will be in the middle on the sides. So same thing with how they're printed on the back. You absolutely cannot go by the boxes that much unless there's something obviously off. Recently I had some Spyderco boxes where they totally messed these gradients up a little bit in spots, and you could tell. But other than that, don't, you know, get into, oh, this one's a little different color of red, because the Spyderco boxes have that variation also. The only thing I will say, you can see this is the British Racing Green fake Endura box. Now, since these are two different knives, the labels are going to be slightly different, but you also cannot go by the type of barcoding, whether the things come all the way down. I've seen the fake ones come all the, where the barcode comes all the way down to the numbers, like this genuine one, and vice versa. I've seen them back and forth. These are just labels printed on a printer someplace. So, and they're printed all over. You know, they're printed probably in multiple places. Some in Taiwan, some in Colorado, some in Japan. So just don't get into analyzing it's like reading tea leaves or something. You know, you're just not looking at clouds. You're looking into these things and looking for something that I don't think you can rely upon. I will show you one thing about the boxes I think you can rely upon, which is when you open up, this is the Super Blue, so this is a real Spyderco box. This is exactly how it came. Usually they're going to be, a lot of times they're going to be in a fitted bubble wrap thing like this, a lot of times. If they're in a flat piece of plastic that's just a sleeve, it's going to be no wrinkles in it. It'll be a really nice, I guess nice as nice as a simple plastic sleeve can be. It's not going to be this weird wrinkly thing. I think I have an example of that where it's a million crinkles in it. Or it'll be a bubble wrap. But I wouldn't go on that at all either, because pretty much even the factory ones can be a variation of certain things. But one of the things I have noticed, and I've pointed this out before, is that the foam in the box will not fit on a real Spyderco box. See this space right here where the foam just doesn't quite fit the box perfectly. And some will be off even more than this one. I've had, you know, Brad Southerns, all kinds of expensive Spydercos. The foam never fits the box perfectly. If you look at a Chinese Spyderco box, here's that crinkly stuff. That Endura was in here, and you see there's a million little wrinkles. It's very cheap, thin plastic. If you get a Spyderco from Spyderco that's in a simple sleeve like this, not a bubble sleeve, and this bubble sleeve is just some bubble wrap. See, it's not fitted. It's just some wrap with some. You'll never see a Spyderco in something like this. If it's going to be shipped in a bubble wrap, it's going to be a pre-made, you know, sleeve that's with a flap on it. That's how it will come. It will never. This one came with, you know, a piece of tape and just bubble wrap wrapped around it. Spyderco will not come like that, and it will not come in one of these sleeves. If it comes in just a plastic sleeve, and some of their knives do, even the expensive ones, it will be a sleeve that's just open at the end, and it's stuck in there, and it's flat on both sides. It's clear, see-through, no wrinkle plastic, is a way to explain that. I don't have an example here that I necessarily want to go dig out. Don't analyze the weight of the paper and the fonts and look for misspellings. I just don't believe in that. But this right here, every single one I've seen, and I've seen a number of clones, the foam fits the box perfectly. So I'll show you what I mean. It's just, this is the craziest thing, that Spyderco doesn't fit the foam perfectly, and the clones fit every single box I've ever had. The foam fits. Doesn't matter if it's a small, like a Dragonfly box. Spyderco's will not be fit right, and the clones will fit the box perfectly. That's about the only thing I can say about the boxes that you can rely upon, other than the fact that if it comes wrapped up in thin silver like a Hershey bar and it's inside of this stuff, it's not genuine Spyderco, it's a Chinese clone. The other thing is that on most series of knives from Spyderco, you're going to be able to open it up and tell, this just doesn't feel real smooth. Like this is the fake here, it's black, and it does not. These are both brand new knives. This is the ZDP 189 British Racing Green, and it's smooth as silk. Now that's a subjective thing, and you could get I've got some good Spydercos that are smooth. The higher end ones, like the Brad Southern, I got a Chinese clone of it I'm going to do a review of against a real one, and it is smooth as butter. It's extremely difficult to tell those two knives apart. The Chinese knockoff of that for 1/5 the price is an extremely nice knife. Most of the other Spydercos I've had, polices and the militaries are very good. I'll do the militaries. They're hard to tell apart. I'm going to show you the things on these knives to tell apart. I've got 3 different copies, and I've had some other Enduras, so I've handled enough of them to know some of the differences. I definitely will tell you one thing right off the bat is when you pick it up, is they've done this FRN extremely well. But like a lot of things, including their G10, it's not as sharp. So if I take my finger into a Spyderco, this is this fiberglass reinforced nylon FRN handles, which are just absolutely fantastic handles because they're lightweight, they're strong, and they're resistance to being chipped or anything. I mean, these are great handles. They look cheap, but they are really nice. Is if I take and dig my finger into this thing and push straight in and try to push it this direction, it stops, because this thing is sharp enough and cut sharp enough on these things that it grabs into your finger and will leave an imprint readily. I mean, it is You push on that thing and try to slide your finger across it, it kind of hurts. Same thing with their G10. If you pick up a fake black G10 against a genuine Spyderco G10, the G10, if you push on it, it's got sharp teeth on it and it resists you being able to slide, whereas the G10 on the other Chinese knockoffs, the patterning is not cut as sharp. Same thing on this FRN. I can push hard down on it and my finger will still slide across it. It's just not quite as sharp. It's very good, but and I don't know if you can appreciate the sharpness on here. Both these knives are fairly dark, so if you can appreciate that one pattern, the one on the top is the genuine Spyderco, and I don't think you can see that the shadows are just deeper on the one on the top. If you look at the pattern and then you look at the shadows, the reason why it's deeper is because those things are just cut deeper and sharper and more relief, and it is a serious difference in the way you feel. Now that would be hard to appreciate just looking at the knife. I say the clones, when you go across them, every Spyderco I have that's got any kind of surface texture is sharp. I mean, they tear your pants up a lot of times. They are sharp. This clone is smoothed out a little bit. It's still sharp, and if you didn't have the other one, you'd have a hard time telling, I don't know about that, maybe. I mean, I think I could tell because I've played around enough with these things. That this thing really, you ran your finger across it, it feels like it's sanding your finger. This is, the fake on the left is sharp, but it's not quite like this, which is painful. There you go. So it really grabs into your finger. There is a difference in the pattern. I had to look very close to find this. Let me see if I can show you. This is the fake Spyderco. I had to look through this whole pattern to find a mistake. If you look at right underneath the Endura, you see this little half moon. It looks like the end of your fingernail in there that's all clear. It's a semicircle on the top and on the bottom, and it is perfectly open. There's nothing in there. So this looks perfect. When it comes up, you wouldn't think that there's anything wrong with that, like that. Looks like they completed the bottom, this row of little squares with the dots in them. They completed it. They completed that one, and then there wasn't enough room to stick any more in there, so it makes sense that this would be like this. But in a real Spyderco, that's not the way it is. They actually got little partials. You see the little semicircle on the top and the bottom. It's like the pattern is continuing. It's even got, there must be 2 or 3 little tips in there. I don't know if you can see what I'm talking about, but in that semicircle, it'll be difficult to get this way things are going with focusing here. The semicircle is open on the fake. Let's see. So there's the fake, and that semicircle is totally open. Just not getting great focus on here today. That looks okay. And then on the real one, you can see it's got some fill in there where they're continuing the pattern even though they can't make a complete block. And here's the Endura. Here's my other Super Blue. You see that little semicircle there. It's got little, they tried to make little squares in there with the little dots in them, these pattern blocks, these blocks. That's a dead giveaway because the two or three of these fakes that I've had, those circles, see those 2 semicircles are empty. It's very difficult to see the difference in the font. I think there's a slight difference in the font, but it's, you're not going to be able to appreciate that just by looking at it. Same thing with the Spyder. Another thing I've noticed is the hardware. Come on. So the fake one is on the right. All the hardware, you can see that the hardware on the left is like a button. It's perfectly domed on the top, and it's like a satiny buffed finish. It's kind of like a worn finish. The one on the right, on the fake, you can see it looks machine turned. I don't know if it's me that's not focused. You can see a circle as I turn it, and they're all that way, all the... Let's get some kind of focus here. There we go. You see, it's... I'm sure that they think that that looks good. But it doesn't look genuine. You see these little button heads. There's no spin in them. No machine. It looks like a engine turned. So these are just, they're reflective, but they're not like engine turned. That's kind of a dead giveaway. You can see it swirling as I turn it, like it's jeweled. A jewel turning on a, the dash on a fancy car, custom car, jewel turned. There's some subtle differences on the hardware in the back. I don't think I want to necessarily go into that because I don't think that's a real easy thing to pick out. These jewel marks are something that you can pick out. You don't have to have another one next to you, a real one, to see that those spins on the hardware, that jumps out. The semicircles being open, like a perfect circle that's no patterning in, that jumps out. The other thing that jumps out, and this is a bit of a functional problem, is that you open the knife. This one does not feel, I had one a week ago, and it was very smooth. It felt very good. This one does not feel like it. I may leave that video up. But here's the problem with the knives that I've run into, and this is not just across the Enduras. That I've got a police that does this as well, the backlock knives, is that when you go to push, let me see if you can, the first thing, I don't know if you'll notice, is that these that the back lock, it has a shallower cutout for your finger. The genuine one is on the top. You can see it's deeper on the fake, and you can see there's not as much metal in there on the lock. This is just barely nicked out. This is much deeper. I'm going to show you why that's a problem. And so there's more metal sticking up in the lock back thumb position, the indentation. There's much more metal by, maybe 2 millimeters sticking up. They've cut a deeper notch in here, which makes that effectively there's more metal for you to bear your thumb on the real one versus the fake. So what you notice when you first pick this up and you try it and you open it is that when you try to close the fake here, is that you push down like a regular Spyderco, especially if you don't push down on the very end here, you push down right here, and it takes you have to go down this far before it will disengage the lock. It's almost all the way down in there, and you really notice it because the lock seems like, hey, I'm really, it's not wanting to let go. So on the real one though, you can see how much is sticking out there. Disengages right there. And you wouldn't think that was, you see this one's all the way down in the hole. My autofocus is not doing too good today. So functionally, cutting this notch down deeper, you really notice it when you try to disengage the lock, is that normally a Spyderco would be disengaged about right there. This one you got to push all the way down in there to get it to disengage. So it feels like you're having a little problem when you go to disengage it on the fake. So you think that maybe, well, maybe what that means is that if you look at it, maybe it's got a deeper engagement, the fakes on the bottom here. So maybe you think, well, maybe it would have a deeper engagement into the knife, but I've looked at them, they're pretty much identical on the ends. So it doesn't really help you that it's, you know, you have to push it down deeper, because it really doesn't engage the knife any deeper for the lock, because the reason why you're pushing it down is because they didn't leave, you know, they basically cut this little notch out too far on the fake. They cut a little deeper notch than they should have. Got the fake on the, put the fake on the bottom here. Yeah, it's a deeper notch. So let me think if there's anything else. They did a very good job on the clips. Usually they have a little problem with the clips, where the clips will be deeper on the fake, or they won't get the little flat piece where they flatten out, where it, you know, comes out and hooks up on the clip and then turns back down. They did a very good job on the clips of these knives. So the last Endura fake I had was very good quality. It felt very good when you flipped it out and everything. This one, a little rough. Now I'm sure it would smooth out as you used it, but this is nowhere near the quality of one I had about a week ago. But the locks work the same, and it works the same on some polices I have and some other lock packs I have that are clones. So I hope that will help you kind of figure out what's a fake and what's a not. If you get one of these someplace and you think it's a great deal, these cost about $20 off of AliExpress. They're nice knives for $20. The FRN is really nice. It's well done. It's not quite, you know, it doesn't quite have the texture of the Spyderco, but if you look at the jeweled hardware on it, you look at the fact that if you were to open it up, you have to really press it, the lock all the way down. And then you look at these semicircles, those would be giveaways whether you had a real one or not. So hope that was instructive in helping to pick out clones if you get ripped off someplace. And I would be very wary of buying off of eBay, because these things are really difficult to tell. But with those three things, the hardware, the lock if you get one, and then if you can get a good picture before you buy it, if that semicircle is totally open and they haven't continued the pattern all the way up to this flattened portion of the logo, those things don't touch it, unless you just want to buy a clone for 20 some odd bucks. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions or comments, just post them. I'd be more than happy to tell you what I know about this stuff. Thank you.